People often say about advertising, well, why don't you just turn it off? But in many of these cases, the point is that you don't have the choice whether or not to turn it off.
I want to be sick.
The point is that you don't have the choice whether or not to turn it off, because it's, you know, it is in the streets, it's right in front of your face on the subway or even in the bathroom, in a public bathroom. So that's the point, is to take choice out of the equation, because choice, when, you know, even if you can click with your converter, that is seen as the enemy in the world of marketing. That's why you need to get your ad woven into the content of television shows, so choice is taken out of the equation.
Jody tends to get carried away.
What? I saw them at Starbucks together, didn't I?
You're out of Diet Coke.
It could be that we skipped the staff meeting this morning to go to Starbucks.
Very nice.
What about that cutie that you met at Banana Republic?
She came.
It smells like dog everywhere to go, man.
This is business. It needs to be done properly and legally.
It's a standard lease form, Taylor. I bought it at Office Depot.
You can do anything in a Kmart. You can fill up on sugary snacks. You can catch up on your dental hygiene. In fact, I'm starting to like this idea so much I may never leave.
Because this store is perfect just the way it is. Don't change a thing.
Because the power of marketing is always the power of getting someone's attention. And let's face it, it's hard to get our attention. We are literally bombarded with images and with interruptions in our daily lives. So the ante is constantly being raised. And advertisers constantly have to come up with new and more creative ways to get our attention.
Patrick Dorey has invented a machine that creates a beach blanket of advertising right in the sand. In this case, for Skippy peanut butter.
Right now, approximately, on this 1/2 mile stretch, are approximately 5,000 impressions of Skippy peanut butter jars.
This marks the beginning of the commercial development of the moon, and we suspect we know where it will end as well.
There is now no aspect of our lives that is not open to being used in this kind of theater of the brand.
Relaunching our logo here on the side of the spaceship is the perfect metaphor for what we're really trying to accomplish with the brand.
Today's Pizza Hut rocket was actually the company's second choice. Their preference? Just imagine, the moon, a nighttime billboard.
As companies try to feed off of meaning and feed off of space, everything is a potential prop.
Auto wraps. One California firm paying consumers $400 a month to become driving billboards. A day at the beach, brought to you by a big-name sponsor. Even a town selling its own name to an internet company for $75,000. Welcome to Half.com, Oregon.
All of it, any idea, political activism, all of it gets pulled into these brands telling their story, as they say. Even in capitalist cultures, there are still places where the rules of the market do not apply. We have lived with rules where there are public spaces that are cordoned off and protected because we understand that they're important for our democracies. When you lose the commons, when you lose the very idea of the public, when schools start to look like malls, when libraries start to look like Barnes & Noble bookstores and Barnes & Noble bookstores start to look like libraries, you lose the very idea of there being any place that is outside of the market. And I think that in terms of democracy, this has drastically weakened our democracies because we have fewer and fewer places where we can relate to each other as non-consumers, as citizens. Probably the best example of that is the shopping mall, because the shopping mall is designed to mimic the town square. And often designers of malls will use this language overtly. They'll talk about it, about creating a town square type atmosphere. Well, you'll have fountains and you'll have benches and you'll have pseudo street lights, and it sort of looks like an old style town hall or town square, but it isn't. And you can find that out very quickly if, for instance, you try to pass out a political pamphlet of any kind, or if you're an employee at a clothing store, say, and you and your friends decide to form a union and you want to have a picket line in the mall, well, you can't do that. You can do that in the street, but this is a privatized public sphere, and the private rules around private property apply. So protesters, anyone who is exercising free speech that is seen as not being conducive to the goal of the mall, which is buying and selling, any message that has not come to this store because we have a sale on, you'll immediately find yourself in the parking lot, escorted out by private security.
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Excuse me, you can't do that in the mall.
I can't do what? What do you mean?
There's no filming in here. Turn the camera off.
Don't worry. I'm not filming.
Who are you with? What are you filming? This is private property. Confiscate your camera.
Chill out. I'm not even recording.
The door's there. I got a man there. The door's right there. I'm going to have to escort you out, sir.
We're not talking about a new idea when we talk about corporate censorship, but what's changed is the scale. Walmart owns so much of the book and music market that their brand image often comes into conflict with artistic expression.
We want products in our stores that a family would be proud to have in their homes.
Walmart, in addition to being at the top of the Fortune 500 list, the largest employer in the United States, they are also a very powerful brand. And their brand identity is, surprise, surprise, it's a family brand. It's like Disney. It's a very similar kind of identity. And they pride themselves on creating a family store. Now, this doesn't have to do with the values of the company. It has to do with a marketing strategy where by identifying themselves as a family store, they are able to attract the entire family. You know, dad can go buy power drills and guns, and mom can shop for clothes, and the kids can buy video games and magazines. So their strategy of being a family store obviously is what has contributed to their incredible profitability. But part of what that means is that their brand identity as a family outlet clashes over and over and over again with artistic expression. There have been many cases where they have decided that the lyrics in a rap CD or the art on the cover or the image on the cover of a magazine doesn't fit the Walmart image. Now, on one level, you can just say, well, that's their right. It's a private company. They've got a right to decide what's on their shelves. But the difference is this incredible difference in scale, because what that means to the record company or the magazine is that they've just written off 30% of their sales. And they're not going to accept that. So they reissue the CD. And they also internalize Walmart's aesthetic and Walmart's brand values when they think about which artists to sign and when they think about what culture they're going to put out there in the first place. So there's a kind of preemptive censorship that we never even hear about. I mean, we'll hear about something if it gets yanked off the shelves, but what we don't hear about is the censorship behind the scenes and the preemptive and second-guessing censorship that takes place, that is silent censorship.